Through Cheater's surveillance cameras, you and I are about to view actual true stories filmed live. We document the raw pain of a lover shattered by infidelity. This program is dedicated to the faithful and presented to the false-hearted, hoping to encourage a renewal of temperance and virtue. Coming up on this explosive episode of Cheaters, that is when we get our internal surveillance. A kiss. This is the worst. Lola, good God. I saw everything you did. Absolutely everything. You told me you were not drinking. Well, I was not for a while. Real reality television is brought to you by Cheaters Detective Agencies. Private Eyes on Cheaters. Thank you for joining us on yet another shocking episode of Cheaters. Let's review this first case together. Tony Brickley comes in to question his old lady's suspicious actions. Recent bizarre circumstances have pushed Tony right to the brink. He requests urgent assistance from Cheaters. Tony says he and Lilith met 12 years ago at a local show back when he played small clubs. He remembers seeing her hanging out right there in the audience. He just could not look away and finally got a chance to meet her after the show wrapped. They immediately hit it off and have been together ever since. The good times were absolutely great, especially playing with his rock band. Lilith was always there supporting him, hanging out with friends, and being a loyal partner. He cherished the fellowship with all those guys as they started to grow as a band. Having her right by his side was fantastic, especially when the band caught a break. They were actually asked to go out on tour for a couple of months, but Tony says the partying got out of hand. Lately, he noticed more activity around the house. He comes back in from the weekends and feels totally unsettled by the strange vibe. He is just completely unsure about it all. Lilith Brickley is 53, a day spa technician suspected of muddying up her long relationship. Knowing Tony will soon tour, Cheaters deploys a squad of skilled operators to strictly stake out the home Tony currently shares with Lilith. Later this evening, investigators spot an unfamiliar car as it pulls right into the driveway. An unknown female gets out and walks straight to the house. The suspect, Lilith Brickley, comes right to the front door. She greets the unknown woman with a warm hug before allowing her inside. Tony recalls the past couple of times he came home. The house has been noticeably messier than it usually is. Things feel totally off. He can tell people were visiting, but she refuses to say who. Let's find out. He even caught her on the sofa, completely buck naked. This actually happened more than once. She was just terribly hungover, badly hungover. Then came a suspicious incident. Today we're investigating Tony's case. Early on, his partner actually got caught cheating. He worked through that betrayal. He even helped her battle through her severe alcoholism. Tony forgave the infidelity. They decided to stick it out and save the relationship. But lately, they never really discussed the past, and that silence bothered Tony the absolute most. He just couldn't get a single honest word out of his girlfriend anymore. She refused to open up. She wouldn't even tell him if something was completely wrong. She wouldn't say if things were right either. It was just cold questions about when he was leaving for work again. She would just ask how his music tour was going. Strictly surface-level conversation. Sometime later, suspect Brickley and her companion say their goodbyes with a playful hug before she closes the door. Her mysterious guest leaves, and the night surveillance concludes. Tony knew he couldn't forgive her this time if she was caught cheating again. He just couldn't do it. What would accepting another brutal betrayal say about him? He had already given her 3 separate chances regarding the heavy drinking and lying. The previous cheating was too much. The drinking they could survive, but not infidelity. They could push through her addiction, but Tony drew a hard line at cheating. The musician had too much going on. He couldn't afford to be worried about a disloyal partner. Being played for a fool was never going to work for him ever again. He refused to let this woman walk all over him, to ever make him feel foolish again. Tony just didn't have the time for it. The Cheaters crew maintains the stakeout on Tony and Brickley's home. After a long day of surveillance, investigators spot the exact same sedan from before. A mysterious woman, identified only as Eden. She walks right to the door where suspect Brickley greets her. The suspicious pair quickly slips inside. Let's look at the interior footage from Tony's hidden cameras. It captures their antics. Eden pulls out a wine bottle. Suspect Brickley eagerly grabs a colorful bottle opener. The secret pair shares a few glasses of wine. Sometime later, the deeply intoxicated women climb the stairs up to the pool room. The two women overtly flirt as they knock billiard balls around the table. Brickley eventually makes her bold move and kisses Eden. Soon, the guilty pair makes out on the pool table. Sometime later, Eden rushes right out of the house, starts her car, and departs. The cheater's investigative team stays locked on the home Tony shares with the suspect. Sometime during the night, Eden's familiar vehicle slowly appears again. And just like yesterday's hidden surveillance tracking, the suspect's romantic consort appears too, with her secret guest entering the home. The hidden cameras clearly show the Mrs. Brickley moving to grab a fresh glass of wine for her lady friend. They sit and converse on the cozy sofa. You and I see the truth. The suspect kisses Eden again. The accused woman pushes the envelope way beyond kissing when her top suddenly comes off. They go right back to kissing, and her bra joins that shirt on the floor. A bit later, the cheating housewife leads her guest over to the stairs. Brickley pushes the young woman back onto the steps. The suspect then gets incredibly intimate with her female companion. Eventually, the unfaithful suspect and Eden finish things off with one last kiss. Brickley grabs her clothes off the floor and gives her friend a passionate goodbye kiss. And that closes out our long night of undercover surveillance. The television crew makes a difficult phone call to a betrayed Tony. Next, we witness the dramatic confrontation. Tony's absolute worst fears are proven true. The crew calls him in to sit down and view their gathered evidence. He dreads the upcoming findings. Still, Tony steps up bravely to finally face the hard music. The host begins. The investigator reminds Tony why he came. Tony nervously agrees that he already knows. The host asks if those old feelings rushed back. Tony quickly agrees that they did. Tony admits his long suspicions. The host promises to finally end that frustrating guessing game. They discuss the severe anxiety that comes from simply not knowing what his partner is doing. The host asks if Tony is really prepared to see their gathered surveillance. Tony reluctantly agrees. They cue up the video. Let's watch as the stakeout kicks off outside of Tony's home. Soon, a strange vehicle pulls up. Tony mutters he has never seen that car. On the screen, a mysterious woman steps out of the parked car. She walks straight to the front door, and the cameras catch the two women hugging. The guest heads inside. The host reminds Tony about the hidden cameras inside his house. Inside, the hidden footage shows them playing billiards. Suddenly, things take a strange turn on screen, making Tony gasp in shock. Tony groans in disbelief. Tony is absolutely furious, cursing the fact that his partner lied straight to his face. The host notes that Lola got a call then, asking Tony if he remembers their exact conversation. Tony greets. Lola casually asks how he is. Tony asks what she is doing. He says he is currently heading out to practice. He adds that tonight's practice will be a short one. Lola plays along, sounding totally relaxed. Suspicious, Tony asks what is happening and why she sounds so out of breath. Lola quickly lies, claiming she is just upstairs vacuuming inside the pool room. When pressed about her heavy breathing, she doubles down on the fake vacuuming story. Tony repeats his evening practice plans. Lola acts cool, and Tony promises to be home later. They hang up, completely unaware of the looming confrontation ahead. He hung up. The host wondered if Tony remembered their conversation. Tony nodded yes. It had happened just the other day. Tony agreed it was just the other day, remembering the moments right after that phone call. The footage showed the woman sprinting downstairs, darting out the front door, and fleeing in her car. Let's review the evidence together. On that day, the crew waited outside his house. A scantily clad woman approached. Lilith greeted her at the front door with a very warm hug. Hidden cameras captured the unbelievable moment the two women kissed. Things escalated quickly as the young visitor helped Lilith pull her own shirt off. Sharing a few more passionate kisses, Lilith seductively flipped her hair back. Removing her bra, Lilith guided the other woman right over to the staircase. She tossed her down aggressively onto the steps. Then Lilith shockingly went straight down between the other woman's legs. Tony gasped loudly. Tony muttered that this was literally the absolute worst thing he could ever possibly imagine seeing. The host assured him he completely understood. He truly felt his deep pain. Pointing out the house, the crew finally pulled the van up. The driver was instructed to cut the headlights entering the dark driveway. They quietly exited the vehicle, letting Tony confidently lead the way. The camera crew followed closely. Everyone piled out of the van in total silence. They stayed incredibly, completely quiet. Showtime. They rushed inside. Busted. He yelled Lilith's name. He screamed he saw everything she did. He accused her of drinking heavily. She feigned total ignorance, asking him what he was even talking about. Tony demanded to know everything about the other girl and her identity. Lilith defensively revealed that the mystery woman was Eden. He angrily asked why she never mentioned Eden before. Lilith snapped back, asking why she would ever tell him about her side piece. He pressed for a timeline. The cheating had lasted a year. Eden admitted she simply hadn't wanted to tell the furious boyfriend anything. She claimed Lilith was incredibly lonely and bored since Tony was always traveling. You and I can feel his rage peak right here. He caught her on top of another chick on his own pool table. Lilith shrugged dismissively. She sarcastically pointed out that he was never even home. He argued it wasn't cool, while she insisted his constant physical absence simply wasn't fair. She bitterly mocked his big ambitions, asking if he was trying to go get famous somewhere. She hated sitting home totally alone while he acted like some famous star. He reminded her she was the famous one. Let's break this confrontation down. Clark stated he saw her on the stairwell, but she played totally dumb. Her husband scoffed at her sudden amnesia. He angrily demanded that Clark show her the stairwell video. He knew she'd deny it. The host calmly introduced himself as Clark Gable. Clark explained they were with cheaters hired by her husband to keep an eye on her activities. Clark brought up her past infidelity. She instantly grew defensive, claiming that happened a long time ago. She kept insisting it was ancient history, and Clark smoothly agreed that it was in the past. Clark reminded her that despite his forgiveness, she had made a serious commitment and a solemn promise. She promised she would never cheat again. So why were they here now? She nervously claimed she expected him to be there for her. She complained he was constantly gone, leaving her all alone to deal with everything by herself. Her husband fired back, reminding her she was always invited to travel on the road with him whenever she wanted. He noted she always refused. Clark chimed in, acknowledging that dating a traveling musician was incredibly tough. Lilith shot back, questioning how she could possibly trust him not to do the exact same thing while he was touring. He admitted facing temptations, but swore he never took advantage of them. Clark boldly asked if she was drinking. Lilith sheepishly admitted that she had. She claimed it was just a little, but Clark openly questioned if that was the truth. Clark pointed out she was visibly slurring her words during their tense exchange. He explained he was only asking because her husband mentioned alcohol had fueled her past infidelities as well. Feeling cornered, she begged them to just leave her alone. He reminded her she promised absolute sobriety. She claimed she stayed sober for a while. He dryly agreed. Clark steered them back, moving toward the confrontation's final conclusion. The show's internal surveillance footage clearly captured Lilith kissing the other woman. He groaned, insisting they saw everything she did. He repeated his frustration about her drinking, while she gave the same tired excuse. He bitterly acknowledged it. Clark questioned if her relapse started right after she began seeing this new woman. He asked if keeping the secret stressed her out. Clark then clarified his intentions for bringing the cameras. Clark hesitated about showing the stairwell footage, but the husband furiously demanded she see it. Clark assured her he meant no disrespect. Suddenly, she admitted remembering the stairwell incident. He angrily replied, she better remember, because the video was queued up. He already saw it. She sarcastically quipped that it was memorable. Clark seized on that word, asking how she would compare this incident. Let's watch this pivot. He questioned her memory, and she finally confessed she remembered. Her husband pointed out her massive contradiction, since she had just feigned total ignorance. Now her memory returned. She complained they had ambushed her home with bright lights and a huge camera crew. Clark corrected her, pointing out they raided both houses. He brought up the other woman, confirming the devastated husband had never met her before this scandal. Clark dropped another bombshell, revealing that the other woman confessed the affair had lasted for an entire year. Lilith shockingly admitted they met at the spa a year ago, claiming the woman started out as a client. He called it complete nonsense. He yelled it was utter garbage. What do you and I make of this mess? Clark simply offered her a calming glass of water. Let's watch as the investigator leaves the couple to confront this other woman. She dismissed his excuses, desperately begging the investigator to question her cheating husband. He assured the wife she was hearing the truth, promising to return quickly. The husband defensively asked what else she needed, clearly avoiding the painful, ugly truth. Heartbroken, she demanded to know why he never confessed what happened. She asked why he hid his feelings for the side piece. He mumbled it wasn't easy. The host interrupted, turning to the mistress and politely apologizing for the intrusive cameras. The host acknowledged the extremely awkward confrontation, then bluntly asked the man if the infidelity lasted a year. The man nodded. The host then asked if he knew the hidden truth. He revealed the couple had been together for 15 years. The other man confessed he thought she was amazing, feeling deeply drawn to her even after discovering she was married. He selfishly admitted he didn't care. Furious, the betrayed husband yelled about calling him during the betrayal. He screamed about him grabbing her on the pool table during that phone call. The furious husband called the situation total garbage. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's see what he actually meant by not caring. The host asked if the man wanted to spite the husband or was simply completely obsessed. The unapologetic man admitted it was a bit of both, confessing to a growing selfish obsession. He explained, his initial curiosity quickly spiraled out of control, ultimately leading him to fall completely in love with the married woman, despite the consequences. The cheating partner coldly confessed to ignoring their marriage, claiming it was finally time to prioritize personal happiness over their vows. The devastated victim fired back, screaming that this brutal confession should have happened a year ago. Weeping, the betrayed partner regretted giving a second chance 12 years ago. Cursing the foolish moment they let their protective guard drop, they sobbed intensely about dropping their defenses only to be brutally stabbed in the back like this. The investigator bluntly asked if the woman drank before their secret hookups. The other man repeatedly insisted she was completely sober whenever they met up for their affair. The heartbroken victim cried out, completely devastated by being treated with such cruel disrespect. Overwhelmed by the intense confrontation, the cheater desperately begged to go downstairs and escape the glaring cameras. It was absolutely unbelievable. The angry victim yelled that everyone now knew their humiliating, tightly hidden secrets. The side piece suddenly claimed she had a drinking problem, discovering it after bringing over wine. Desperate to fix things, the cheater pleaded to talk through the shattered trust and explain everything. The furious victim demanded to know what the next move was. Standing amidst cameras and strangers, the victim aggressively challenged the cheater to make a public choice. The cheater quietly confessed an incredibly selfish, desperate desire to finally just be happy. The investigator politely asked the betrayed partner to step over and hear the mistress out. He explained they needed to get all the ugly facts out immediately, hoping someone could verify the story. The accused frantically claimed there was zero intimacy between them. They frantically repeated that absolutely no intimacy occurred. The host pushed back, revealing the mistress told a completely different story, demanding the man's true identity. The victim demanded the intruder's origins, tearfully insisting their own feelings still mattered. The cheater aggressively warned the victim not to bother her. Furious, the betrayed partner screamed at the mistress, demanding to know why she was still standing there. She told Lily to shut up, admitting she was incredibly nervous and totally lost. The furious homeowner demanded the mistress shut up. They bitterly fought over who actually owned the chaotic, shattered household. You and I can see the pure chaos here, screaming to leave while desperately begging to stay. She demanded he leave right away. He simply refused. She immediately threatened to call the police on him. She asked if the mistress was leaving. He just wanted to escape and forget the whole thing. She stood stunned, asking if he was actually abandoning his home. He claimed they both knew what they wanted. She screamed that his waiting mistress had absolutely nothing to do with her or their relationship. He smugly confirmed it, wishing her a very good night. He told Lilith to have a wonderful night. Lilith sarcastically thanked him, promising that she absolutely would. Let us unpack this devastating confrontation together. Tony figures out his next strategy. Later on the show, the team will break down his entire game plan. But first, Jessica Sanders explains why her life is better. Following that infamous night she caught her partner in the woods, right by the soccer fields here on Cheaters. Jessica admitted that finally seeing him match the surveillance footage in person when she witnessed the ultimate betrayal with her own eyes. Up close and personal. It all became devastatingly real. Her reaction quickly shifted from initial shock and crying over the cheating to pure blinding rage, leaving her wanting to completely destroy him. She simply could not believe he traded her for the other girl he chose. More than anything, she felt like the entire relationship was a mission gone terribly wrong. Coward. She screamed at him not to run, demanding to know exactly why he was fleeing. She screamed he was man enough before. She chased him as he tried escaping, demanding to know where he was going and ordering him out of her face. The boyfriend stood completely stunned. She asked why he ran. She ordered him to come out and face her for a second. She demanded an immediate conversation. She reminded him he had been bold enough to commit the ultimate betrayal. She argued he was bold enough to cheat, but acting too much like a coward to talk. He nervously deflected. As you can imagine, this entire cheating ordeal left her severe trust issues scattered all over the place. Today, she is happily single. She insists that she is not feeling lonely at all. She might be by herself, but she certainly does not feel isolated. More than anything, the breakup gave her valuable alone time to simply reevaluate her life. She knows she is definitely better off without him, finally having quiet time to think and relax. She noticed her career was suffering during the relationship because she spent endless hours worrying about his constant infidelities. She never got a single chance to focus on what was best for her own future or personal growth. Instead of bettering herself and moving forward today, right now, Jessica is in a great space. As you and I can see, she no longer needs or wants him in her life. Tony explained that once he reclaimed his house key from the guy, that was the absolute end. He hasn't spoken to him since. He insists he is totally fine with that reality. Following the bitter confrontation, Tony Brickley officially files for divorce. He admits the path is rough, but vows to move past these problems. The suspect, Lilith Brickley, remained quite outspoken when our investigators questioned her infidelity. She demanded the team back off, openly confessing she was seeing Eden. She bluntly stated she doesn't care. The consort, having very little to add, admitted to producers she still sees the suspect. Remember, the heart is truly broken now. If you do not get your programming from Goldstein's, well, we both lose money.